It's time, Michael.
For another sequel. You thought it was going to end here. Halloween, the 2018 sequel to the original 1978 classic. Hell yeah. So the story for Halloween is basically a continuation of Halloween 1, which Halloween 2 already did. But this time, Laurie is way more prepared and paranoid. She definitely has good reason to be, especially since Michael's bus crashes. Or, well, maybe a bit more hands-on crash than anticipated. And Michael escapes, naturally. So then he makes his way back to Haddonfield in no time flat, in the town that doesn't really seem to believe in him anymore. He's like a boogeyman, the myth. He was always a boogeyman, though, not a myth. On the way, we have other characters, such as Laurie's daughter and her daughter, and Laurie's daughter's husband, and a new sheriff, and a new doctor, and a couple podcasters, which I thought was pretty funny. And you got your Halloween story, which does contain a lot of clever throwbacks. And I thought that was really interesting. They have shots where you would think it'd be Michael Myers standing out there because that's what they did in the original. Instead, it's Laurie Strode standing out there looking into the classroom. Or Laurie Strode disappearing from the spot she once was. A+ on that part. Great throwbacks. On the downside, though, the whole story feels a bit generic. It didn't really add anything new. In fact, it took away from what the second movie did, which was make Michael Myers Laurie Strode's brother, which is a different change and something they've never done before. And that didn't really make a big deal out of anything. It was just something that was said in passing, and it didn't really change the plot or anything. It was just like, oh, we're starting anew, and we're going to change this. And if they eventually decide to put that back in there, I'll be like, then why'd you take it out in the first place? In the cinematography aspect, it feels like fall big time. In the original Halloween, it felt like it was summer, and it was like kind of fallish with the pumpkins and stuff, but it looked like it was still summertime. This, you actually get a sense that it is coming close to Halloween. Also, the mood lighting creates a good atmosphere, and I think that really does help because in some aspects it's kind of makes it more of a visual appealing movie than the first one, and that I really did enjoy it. It was never too dark or anything. You could see everything most of the time. I can see if you get the Blu-ray or DVD and you watch the scene where Laurie's searching for Michael in her house, which, spoilers, kind of, he does get into her house. If you couldn't tell by the trailers, it's really dark, and there's a lot of panning of shots going around a room. So if you get the Blu-ray and DVD, you might have that problem, you might not. So hopefully they brighten it up a bit. The music in this movie is fantastic. John and Cody Carpenter, as well as Daniel A. Davis, who composed I, Frankenstein, composed this movie. It's got ambience and intensity while still remaining in the background. Much like John Carpenter explains, his music is like wallpaper, and it's a damn good example. It's supposed to be faded into the background. It's not supposed to be like in the forefront. So I'm glad that they kept that aspect to it. Much like Michael Myers in this movie. He was just perfect. But we'll get to that when we get to the acting. But the music, it's a modern take on the classic, and it works. There's some brutal scenes in this movie, such as a head bashing, and bloody stabbings, and a gruesome crushed head. The gore and effects are very savage, but it's a lot different than the original movie. If you watch the original movie, then you watch this one, the violence level will be amped up. It's quite brutal. It really shows Michael's aggressive nature, possibly for having to wait for so damn long to go get out of the sanitarium after trying to kill Laurie 40 years ago. There are too many characters added to just be body count fodder in this film. There's over a dozen for sure. I like a big body count, but Michael Myers has never been a body count kind of person unless you count the sequels. He's more about pacing his kills. This one he's going hog wild and killing everything and everyone. Well, not everything. He doesn't kill any dogs in this movie. Surprise, surprise. But there are a lot of great practical effects in this movie. There's one scene of CGI, I think, where the girl gets stabbed through the neck. It looked a little bit like it was digitally enhanced, so the acting is really good from Jamie Lee Curtis. I feel she's stronger, but she doesn't command the same presence as she did in H2O. You don't feel that hell yeah, go Laurie Strode kind of feeling you got in H2O. You get instead, oh, she's really tactical. That's really smart and innovative. Judy Greer's lines are cringeworthy until the third act is revealed, and then she becomes a badass all of a sudden. Her husband is useless. The rest of the acting is pretty good. Again, too many characters, but I enjoyed most of them. Michael Myers was played by Nick Castle for only a few parts of the movie. And I forgot who really played him. I'll have to look that up because I didn't write down in my notes, how dare I. And he does a good job too. It's quite seamless. Although you don't really see Nick Castle walk too much. So when Michael Myers dons the mask and is walking around, you really get the sense that it's the same person. Smart move. And what I also mentioned before was that Laurie Strode is not Michael Myers' sister in this film. And I kind of have a problem with that. If you're going to go with that, fine, do with it like that. But why in the hell would he go after her? He's a babysitter murderer. She's an old lady now. Well, I don't want to crap on Jamie Lee Curtis because she's a great actress, but she's an elderly person. So it's like, why would he go after her? He needs a reason. It's not like, oh, so he kills babysitters and old people that he couldn't get before. That's really a loose reason and kind of cruddy. You need to have some sort of connection or a reason for going after Laurie at this age. Anyways, Danny McBride wrote part of the screenplay, and the humor doesn't always work, but there's one kid in the movie I thought was hilarious. Everyone's saying he's hilarious, and I'm like, yeah, there are some pretty funny lines he spouts out, but he is a very natural actor, I can tell. He was just, like, trimming his toenails and, like, saying, oh, I gotta trim these nasty-ass toenails. That's funny. He swears a lot, too. It's a natural thing kids would do nowadays, especially when their parents are not home. Anyways, this was a really fun Halloween movie. Not the best Halloween movie. Not even the best Halloween sequel, in my opinion, like everyone else is saying. It is still a hell of a fun time. And it's really a great homage to the original film, but it feels like the original film in some aspects. The pacing is pretty quick, yet it can be very slow burn at times. Overall, I give Halloween, the 2018 sequel to the 1978 classic, a 3.5 out of 5. This was a new way of doing a review for you guys. I don't have a lot of it scripted, just bulletin notes, so it's more just me talking as myself, not as what I've written. So it might come off a bit Jesus Christ, I stuttered on stutter. It might come off a bit stuttery. So if that's the case, it's just how I talk sometimes. I can't help it. But anyways, thank you all for watching. And Lion Brain Gatto, host of Horror Show Entertainment. Make sure to check out my Twitter and Facebook fan pages in the description below and to leave comments and subscribe.